Welcome, everybody. Good Monday morning. This is LoreForged, the podcast for Ashes of Creation. This is episode 71. And we are your hosts. My name is Jibbs, and I'm joined by... You know what? Hang on. Kash isn't here. He couldn't be here. We wish him well. We hope he's having a good week. There's someone else here. And I feel like to properly introduce him, we need to take a time machine back to the 2010s. Let's introduce him this way. Hailing from the Sleepy Owl Tavern, a.k.a. Sunny's Diner, here's your host, Sunny Ravencourt.
For those of you who don't know what's going on there, oh, by the way, that is... Oh, I love it so very, very much. That is the sound that was the intro to my show, Sunny's Diner. I made that music on
GarageBand.
Not an iPhone. It had to have been like a MacBook or like an iMac or like whatever ancient Apple product existed back in like 2010. And oh my God. And then it pumped in the sound and the whole thing. And it was Kelly's voice.
It was.
Kelly was the one that was saying Sunny Ravencourt. And loved it so much. But I started with, there was like a whole, like in my mind, there was a whole process to this because I started with that dial-up sound to have that sort of like throwback that was just such a recognizable thing. And man, it just lives in my head. You know, like I hear that dial-up sound and now I'm waiting for the drum beat.
Right.
Love it so very, very much.
Yeah. I just like,
we all started somewhere. That is where I started.
That's right. That's right. I remember listening to that. I was, Sunny, by the way, was one of the ones who helped get me into podcasting. And I was a janitor doing laundry. And I would sneak your shows on my phone and put it behind the radio so they think I was listening to the radio station when truly I was listening to Sunny's Diner.
This warms my heart. And speaking of warming my heart, Kash is in the chat. He is not, he's not able to be with us tonight. We've had so many people reach out to him and then us in turn checking on his safety and everything like that. It's well known that he lives in California, and California is on fire, and he works in public safety, and so he is fine, and he would be happy to tell you that he is fine. And there's just a lot of people. There's a lot of people that have lost a lot. And there are a lot of people that are working tirelessly right now to try to prevent any further loss of life and property and just everything. California is an absolute mess. The videos that are coming out of this stuff, I, as a firefighter, we were sitting around yesterday like, look at this video. Look at this video. It's like, we've never seen stuff like this.
Yeah.
And this is our job. You know, like there was one that was on Instagram. That was a McDonald's sign. It was a McDonald's sign and it was a palm tree, and the palm tree is on fire. Like the bottom part where the leaves meet, which is all just a bunch of like fibrous wood and stuff. And it's gotta be 100-mile-an-hour wind. It is blowing sideways and it is just sparks, like as thick as sparks as you can get, just ripping sideways.
Wow.
And I'm like, good God, like that's gonna light houses on fire 10 miles from here. Whole neighborhoods are just like,
that's insane.
Just absolutely raging. And like, what do you do? What do you do? You've got pictures of people with like garbage cans. They got like a pan and they're it's like your whole neighborhood is on fire. You're gonna need more than a garbage can. It's but they're doing the best they can. And man, it's just, I feel awful for that entire section of the country. But Kash is safe. So, and he's working hard. So, you know, we miss him dearly.
Agreed. Yes. Thoughts and prayers to everyone out there. Good thoughts, and hope everyone is safe, because that is terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, it's absolutely brutal. But yeah, he's working hard, and all of his brothers and sisters are working hard out there. So here's to you, public servants out there in California.
That's right. That's right. Well, everyone, thank you so much again for push and play, hanging out with us here on the show today. Today, we are talking about the Phase 2 testing schedule. Check out this thing on Reddit Returns, and we're doing a little bit of something different. We're doing a Q&A from your comments. and email and other things.
This is new.
This is new. It's kind of fun. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it. Anyway, so this is coming to us up from AshesOfCreation.com. So now, to those of you who have been playing, you kind of know this, but for those who, kind of depend on podcasts, stay up to date, well, here you go. The Alpha 2 Phase 2 testing schedule. Now, this is a direct quote from Intrepid Studios. They say from January 8th through January 13th at, 1 p.m. EST, 12 Central, we will continue to keep the service up 24/7 with periods of downtime for hotfixes and daily restarts happening at 2 a.m. for NA realms. That's 5 a.m. Eastern and 2 Central. There's times all over the place. And 2 Central European 40 realms.
What is it in Hawaiian?
What's mountain time?
Where are we in Hawaii?
Going forward from January 16th until May 1st, Alpha 2 realms are scheduled to be online for 5 days a week from Thursday to Monday. So Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern to Monday at 1. No, what is that? That's 1 a.m. Tuesday for Eastern. Gosh, this is so confusing. Downtime will exit.
So they're going to run all of Monday.
It's going to
until Monday night.
Yeah. Late Monday night.
The wee hours and Monday night.
Yeah. It's fine to read it when you're looking at it, but when you say it, it's just all kinds of confusing.
Yeah.
So there will be downtime on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Otherwise, it's up. All right. So there you go. So get in there, get to testing if you haven't already. Depending on the server that you're on, enjoy a little bit of that toxicity or wherever you're at or whatever you're doing and go from there.
And there's like a lot of things with this that are going to hit on this particular show when it comes to this kind of thing. But I guess I would just ask you, like, is this what you expected with the 5-day up and down time here? This is about what you thought you'd get, or is it different?
Yeah. I would say that this was pretty much what I thought it would be. There was some rumblings behind the scenes that this was kind of what they were, thinking about doing. But yeah, I think that this is about right. They seem to like to end it on a Monday, late Monday.
Yeah, this is almost exactly what I thought we were going to get.
Really?
I actually thought it'd be a little bit different. I thought it would be more of a Sunday night, midnight type of end, and then you go Monday, Tuesday. But I mean, I was off by a day. The biggest point is that the weekends are in play, right?
Yeah.
The weekends were the big thing where people are like, you think they'll go Monday to Friday? I'm like, no, I don't think they'll go Monday to Friday.
No.
Because like the weekends are when people have free time. At least normal people have free time, not me, but like, because my schedule's all over the place. Weekends don't make a difference. But like,
yeah,
weekends are when normal 8 to 5ers have the ability to play this game. So that had to be open, and it is. So this is about exactly what I thought. The things that have surprised me is like now, like we're still live now, and we have been live for quite some time now. It really blew my mind, and I didn't get a chance to really say this on the last show, but it shocks me that they released Phase 2 before Christmas. I didn't get a chance to really talk about this, but I just don't think that was the right move.
What would you have? Would you have waited till after they were back from their break?
I'd have just run Phase 1 right through the holidays. And I know that is like not what a lot of people would have wanted, but the reality is that they dumped Phase 2 on the people and then all went on vacation, right? And good for them. Good for them. Take a second, enjoy Christmas. But the fact is that like they gave us Alpha 2 that had no testing in that capacity done. Yes, they did testing, but not in the testing that like Phase 2 with all of these people was going to do. So I don't think I'm crazy in predicting that there would have been problems, which there were, but everybody was on Christmas. I'm like, okay, I just don't get this one. I just don't get it. Intrepid is not. Steven is a extremely successful person. He's very smart. He's extremely well spoken, but he's not immune to making mistakes. And the company is not immune to making mistakes. And that was one where I'm just like, I just don't get this one at all. Like, I think that even though the testing had dropped off and people were finding other things to do, I would have still run phase 1 through Christmas. And then when everybody's back in the office, now we do phase 2 and we've got all hands on deck to deal with the issues.
I can't imagine them not having people there during that, just kind of monitoring the servers. I don't know what that looked like, but in my head, I laughed because in my head, I just thought of this skit like, okay, everyone grab your coats. It's 5 p.m. It's time to, it's California. They don't believe in that sort of thing. Everyone grab your zip up hoodies. Get everything.
Your Patagonias.
Get your sandals on. Hey, Greg, don't leave yet. Did you push the button? Did you turn the servers on? Okay, great. Let's go.
Yep. That's the red one. Let's flip it up. All right, good. We're good?
We're good.
Right, let's go.
Let's go on vacation. Oh, man.
Like, God save the poor souls that were on that skeleton crew, right?
Yeah. Man.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're probably like, where's the manual? Because this is on fire.
Rocking in a corner.
Like,
what do I do?
What kind of extinguisher do I put this server out with? Yeah.
Oh.
No, I wouldn't have done that. And we're just now getting into everybody being back, right?
Yeah.
We're just now getting to the point where they're starting to take it down and do regular stuff. And they were doing updates, they were trying their hardest, but it just seemed like a really tough spot that they put themselves in, that I don't think they had to, right? We would have been fine. Would have been fine 3 more weeks. Just tell us 3 more weeks. We're not, and then tell us the logic behind it. It's like, well, we don't want to do it over Christmas. And we'd all be like, that does seem like a good idea. Like Christmas launch for phase 2 does seem like it might be a little problematic. They should probably wait.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, I would have been fine with it too, because it did feel like it's like it's like that parent that leaves their 3 kids home alone for the first time, like where they go to the store and they come back and everything's hanging off the wall. Like toys are everywhere. Right. There's a remote in your TV. Like that's what I felt like it was. They came back and like we're all like, hi. And everything's just a dumpster fire.
We're never leaving again. Right? Like, they've all come back from Europe or wherever they went, and they're like, "Ooh,
this is fine."
Have left. We shouldn't have left. Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm glad they're back, man. I'm gonna be honest, because I felt like, we're still kind of waiting to see what happens with how are they going to handle all the exploiting? Is it going to be like phase 1 where you just saw some periodic, it seemed like sporadic level resets, but they've been quiet on that front so far. So it's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this before the show, and I'd be curious to hear what the chat thinks about this. This is a very hot button topic, but when it comes to the situations that happened with the war declarations and the other exploits and levels or whatnot, whatever exploiting is going on, I'm sure there are many, many, many different versions of stuff that they didn't want us to do that were happening. We know of some. My biggest thing is I don't want this to be swept under the rug. I don't want this to dissolve into time. I don't want this to go on for another month and then there are no punishments handed out. And then they say like, well, that was a long time ago. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It was very real for all of us that weren't doing this stuff. And, in the words of the whatever admiral in Tom Cruise, like, I want butts, like I am still waiting for that. And I think that that's a big thing for Intrepid. Raz in the chat says that Steven on the Vira Discord said they will have actions against exploiters by the end of next week. Great.
Perfect.
That's the end of next week, right? If the end of next week comes and goes and they're like, we're still considering what to do, and then it's another couple weeks, eventually, there is the possibility this thing drops off. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm saying that's what I don't want to happen.
Right.
I want to make sure that this thing is loud, because all of us, when we asked you, JB, what do you want out of this thing? The answer was loud. We want this to be a hammer.
Absolutely.
Right? We did not enjoy that.
No, you have to set a precedent. I mean, you can't appear weak, and I'm not saying Intrepid is weak. Let me be very clear. I love and respect the company and everyone who's involved. Okay? That said, you have to appear hard. I would want to, I mean, in my opinion, I would want to set a precedent, to know, like, don't do this here. You know what I mean? Like, it just, definitely not a slap on the wrist. And in my head, it has to be more than a reset of levels. Like, well, that does nothing except for, they start all over again and they'll get right back to where they were. Like, I think it has to be, we're not, I think it has to be heavy handed. I think for this one, for sure.
I do. I think they need to hang someone. Right. I think they need to hang someone as a lesson to everyone else on the outskirts of town. Like, this is one of those situations where it needs to be an absolute hammer.
Yeah.
And I don't care, right? Like, I know that people are like, well, what do they really do? And you need exploiters and all this other stuff. No, they said they don't want this behavior. They warned you repeatedly, don't do this stuff. And it happened anyways. And you got to hang someone. Like, it's got to be big. And normally I'm much softer with this kind of stuff. But the reality is, if you don't do something like this, you are not asking for, you are creating the next wave of this, right? Like, it is a guarantee that I, as a gambling man, would bet a mortgage on. If you don't come down heavy-handed on this thing, then it will be completely open season.
Yeah.
And I don't want that, right? And I think most people don't want that. And I know that Intrepid doesn't want that. So if Intrepid doesn't want it, then man, just hang someone, hang a whole guild.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, I've already received a message of people based on our video we put out this past week about what we're seeing in phase 2 on YouTube. Someone commented, it's either a comment or an email, I'm not sure what it was, but they stated they quit playing the alpha because they're like, I'm not going to put up with this, with people training mobs on me all the time. Like, they said, I'm done until this, they handle this situation. And so I think
that they're taking some of those tools away, right? Like, I think that they're the training mobs.
I think that's going to be done.
That's a tool that has to go away, right? Like, you got to address that at a mechanical level,
right?
That one's tough because that is so rampant that I don't know what you do about that one. You've got like level 10s doing that to level 5s. Like, it's not like a few bad actors doing that. That is a way of life on Vira, and it's miserable.
You know what's crazy though is the aggro range. The other day I was running from a dog, and Sunny, I bet you I ran every bit of half a mile, and I looked back and the location where it came from, like, was just way back there. I'm like, why are you still here?
It's like, did I kill your child?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Leave me alone. It's like, do you want some money? Can I give you some money?
Do you want a treat? Do you want a treat?
Do you want a treat? Some Graham skin.
Oh.
Go.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. That's about what it feels like. But anyway, so yeah, the phase 2 schedule, it's out Tuesday through Monday. Wait, no, I said that wrong. Thursday through Monday night. So anyway, Sunny, check out this thing on Reddit.
Check out this thing on Reddit.
Take me to Reddit.
I have visited Reddit. It's getting a little dicey on Reddit. It's maybe not as friendly as it once was. But Reddit is a unique beast that has a life cycle that goes up and down. So you're going to get, I think the funny thing with Reddit is that you still get a lot of questions from people that know absolutely nothing about this game. Yeah. And that's interesting, that they would go to Reddit and be like, what is this? It's just, and then people respond and they tell them what it is.
Right.
So that's kind of a unique thing. You didn't get that with Guild Wars 2 because it was like 10 years old. But this one I found on Reddit that it made me kind of go like, okay. Remember that video from the 90s, things that make you go, I always want to say that. I don't know why. It wasn't a great song. But this one made me go, So the post is from DC Guy 999 zero.
Repeating, of course.
Repeating, of course.
Repeating, of course.
That's where we need Kash. He does that voice better than any of us.
Yeah, he does.
He said, I don't want fast travel, but can we get a taxi system? And the post goes, it's not a very long post. It says, it'd be nice to have a taxi service, whether it's players offering rides or NPCs. I get the reason for limiting the flying mounts and no teleporting to nodes, and I like that. It makes the world feel huge, but the traveling distances get really boring really fast. And then there's an edit afterwards that says, please don't do an auto run/walk like Black Desert Online. Did you ever play that? Did you ever, you know what they're talking about with that?
I know I played Black Desert, but I don't recall what they're discussing. No.
So they had a system where you could and it worked really well for like the caravans because they had a more or less like an import export distance thing where you would just like click on the map and click like auto travel. And so you would just drive your caravan and it would path you right down a road all the way across the map to wherever that was going. And you could go get a sandwich. I would do some things where I would just run a caravan from one end of the map to the other. And like I felt like my computer was like processing Bitcoin or something. Like it was just on and I would just leave. And every now and then I'd go over and check and be like, oh yeah, I'm still going. And then you'd go away and come back. Not like the greatest game design, right? But that's one of those things that that this person does want. So my question to you is, I know you're going to say that the world does feel huge because we already feel that way. And it's only really one biome.
Yeah.
What do you want or not want when it comes to the ability to travel different places within biomes, from biome to biome? Like, what do you want out of that?
That's an interesting question. And it becomes more interesting after you play the Alpha 2 and you realize just how large the Riverlands is. I mean, just like the idea of going, which by the way, I think it was Richie that did the video a while ago. It was a good video. It was talking about map size and like the Riverlands is 3/4 the size of Kalimdor from World of Warcraft based on his timing. So that's,
whoa.
Yeah. So like, you know, when you think of possibly 18 zones, which Steven can we launch the game with like maybe 5? Like maybe 5.
18? So like 18 Riverlands?
It's 19 biomes, isn't it? 18 or 19 biomes?
It can't be. Can it?
I think it is.
Half of that.
No, I really think it is. It's so like,
holy Christ.
That's where you right. So like when you start thinking of an answer to this, you're just like, oh, so I'm gonna throw something out there for funsies. I think if they were to ever add some kind of non-player driven mechanic, aka a taxi, I think it has to go. I think it's fine if the speed is 50% less, so it operates at half the speed. It does offer pathing. And the entire time, I just want to hear New York accent, Fifth Element style, Bruce Willis quips and sarcastic remarks. And then I think I'm good.
Really?
Well, my head immediately went to the Fifth Element from when you brought up a taxi service for whatever reason.
He does do a taxi.
He does do a taxi. So yeah.
Flight paths? Are you into flight paths?
Nah, yeah. Yeah, like I'm not against them. I mean, I use them in Warcraft. I think the thing I'm against the most is unlimited flying. You know, just removing the ground element entirely.
Oh, with the flying mounts.
With the flying mounts, you're right. And I know the mares kind of have
right?
that thing, but I mean, like that's limited.
It's like one person, right?
Yeah, like so in the grand scheme of things, like 18 people when you're looking at biomes per launch for 10 out of 10,000, like yeah, okay. But like I don't want to have flying mounts. I know that.
So a lot of the people in the chat are saying that like that is a way to ruin immersion with the flying mounts, I believe. And then you know some people take it to the next level and say like automated travel ruins the immersion.
They're not wrong. I mean, they're not wrong.
It is more immersive to not have that, but it is definitely an inconvenience, right? Like there are times today that I wanted to go to Winstead.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not going to Winstead. It's way too far, right? Like, no, I'm not going. Right. It's a 20-minute run.
Yeah.
I'm just not going.
Right.
And that is like basically a neighboring town.
Yeah.
You know, we're not talking about going from Kalimdor to Darnassus. Like this is like, it's right there. So it's so big that I think that at some point it's going to be a thing. Now, Triple Killer, says, well, what about the metropolis of the science node? And that is one of the things that is a special feature of that is the teleport system,
right? Which
would be huge, right?
To
have that kind of thing in the game, and it would be interesting. Crisco says it's inconvenient by design. Get a faster mount. I've got a pretty fast mount. I do have a pretty fast mount, not due to my own hard work by any means. I bought it from somebody gave it to me for a sweetheart deal, but like it's a long ways. And the caravans are just so ungodly slow that makes any distance seem just insurmountable. Like I can't even imagine doing large scale stuff. Like to get even from New Ayla to the tropics is a very, very long trip. And those are basically almost connected.
Yeah.
So I'm really kind of up in the air on this one. Now, one of the suggestions was a player-based taxi service. So players could put another player in like a mount and then take them for a fee. I don't know how that works. I really don't. Like, my brain immediately goes to all the various ways that people would really screw you on this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Leave you in the middle of nowhere or like take you out and just beat you within an inch of your life and take all your stuff.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I don't know. I've never played a game that had an in-game taxi service. Did Black Desert Online actually have this? Because all I really remember was just clicking a place that I wanted to go in Black Desert and I would just go there. So
yeah, I don't know, but I know, look, if you're playing on Vira, there's no way that taxi service ends well for you. Like
0% chance.
Your shoes are thrown over, the telephone pole wires, like, you're hanging by your toes somewhere. Like that's just,
yeah.
There's no way.
Your taxi is going to come complete with a shovel and lime in the back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You gonna die.
Yeah, exactly. Like after this phase 2 experience, there's no possible way that I would trust any other player. It's different if it's a guild member, right?
Yeah.
But, unless you're Chaffee. But, CP's in chat. But, overall, no, thank you. But this does bring up an interesting point, though. Being that we've kind of experienced, we have experienced the one zone-ish, you kind of have a little bit of that desert in there. I'm wondering if this does not develop into an issue that does ultimately bring some kind of fix. That's not the right word, but some kind of answer to that, because a 20-minute run will turn easily into like an hour and a half or 2 hours of running. Is that what and then it kind of, I guess it comes back to, and I'm kind of going somewhere with this, then it kind of comes back to, especially if you're a family man, you got family and stuff going on, or, your mom, whatever. And, you're busy. It's like, okay, do you choose to live within this one zone? Cause I could totally see that,
I think that's the answer. And I really do. I think that people will be very, territorial.
Yeah.
It will be a very tribal game where you are in an area and you kind of stay there. And I can tell you that I'm doing that now. Like when we moved to New Ayla a week or two ago, I just kind of exist in New Ayla. right? My stuff is there. I've got storage there. I don't go that far because I'm constantly coming back to New Ayla, which is why the mayor thing is so important, because like if your guild doesn't have the right buildings to do the stuff that your guild wants to do, admittedly, like guilds are big and everybody wants to do something different, but like if your building's not there, then it is not great for you. And so you got to go somewhere else. But going back and forth is not really viable. It's just a very, very interesting thing. The other part of it, though, that I don't know if I'm seeing as much as I want to, but it's kind of hard to tell because I don't think the desert and the tropics are fleshed out enough, is that when you have something like this where distances are a long ways and there's no easy way to get from one place to another, you do create scarcity of resource if there's a difference in what's available in different areas.
Yeah.
If everything's available everywhere, like if you can get the same amount of copper or lack thereof, and the same amount of trees in all the different places, then it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets everything all the time. But if you can't get really trees other than in the Riverlands, and you can't really get minerals other than in like the desert, and it's a long way, then you actually do create import-export economy. You create differences in the market that is a real thing, right? You create a reason to run caravans that are not just with commodities, but actually with goods. And I don't know if I've seen that, but boy, do I want to. Yeah. It's kind of on my bucket list for this game. Like I really want that to be a thing, and I don't know if we're gonna get it. We haven't gotten it so far, but it's. I mean, we're dealing with like 1 1/4 nodes at this point. Yeah, really like the desert and the tropics are like maybe like 1/4 of a node a piece. It feels like they're not really there.
Yeah, I think you'll see that. You will start to underline start to see it when you get 2 zones. But I think you'll really start seeing it. Like you'll really see it once you hit 3. And it's those the furthest 2 zones, right? Like that's where I really think you see that sort of thing.
They should be different. Those 2 zones. Yeah. Like if it's zone A, B, and C in a line, like A should be different than C as far as resources go. Yeah. Agreed. If this map is as big as we think it is, like A should be different than C. And if it's not, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah. So I'm going to write a sternly written letter. Oh, straight to Steven's office.
I would proofread that letter for you.
I'm going to put it first class mail with triple stamps, just because I want to. I will lick that stamp.
We will put an extra stamp on just to make sure it gets there.
Just to be sure. Oh gosh! All right. Well, that was good. So comment Q&A. So we decided. There was a comment on our, and Spotify offers this, comments, so people can comment on the episodes on through Spotify. Which, by the way, for those of you listening, you can always find us on every podcast app. But if you want to watch the show, Spotify offers that, and of course YouTube. But anyway, we had a comment on there, and this one is from Austin, and we told him this was a few episodes ago, and we told them that we definitely would answer this on the podcast. And we finally had some time here, and we wanted to make sure we answered it. And so he asks, are any of you worried about the class system with augments? My go-to class is Paladin, but based on the class chart, I feel the classes want to be like traditional games, as a Paladin has always been a tank that can heal. Are you concerned? Here's the real question. Are you concerned people will not like the augment system due to the limitations you will experience? And I think what he's coming from with that, Sunny, is that like the archetypes don't line up with, what you may have seen from other games.
Yeah, this is interesting, but I think he's kind of getting a bit too hung up on the names, right? Okay. Because really the only thing with that archetype that bothers him is that they called it a paladin. Because he's saying that, like, I don't want my paladin to not be able to heal. Okay. What if they just called a paladin like one of the other archetypes that had the ability to heal? Would he be okay with that? Right? Like if it was a priest tank and they called that a paladin. Yeah. Then you would be able to heal. Would that be fine? And I kind of think that the answer would be like, Yeah, that would be fine. And so I think it's mostly the naming convention that he doesn't like. The larger question about whether or not you are going to be happy with the augment system really is unknown at this point. We simply have not had any real exposure to it. We don't know how deep it's going to be. We don't know how different the different classes are going to feel, which I know is a huge thing, that people definitely want them to feel different. And I don't think that we know I don't think we know like near enough to be able to comment on this, let alone to say whether or not we're going to be disappointed if it's something else. But like in the big picture of things, like they named one of them Tank, right? Like they still have Tank. They have not wavered on naming an entire class Tank. So that alone tells you that maybe you shouldn't get too hung up on the names.
Shameless plug, go watch the History of Tank video on our YouTube channel. Because that's all I picture is giant tank, Sherman tanks coming over, coming over a ridge. I think that some people will probably have an issue with this, with the augment system. But I think for me, it really comes back to what's the most important. And I think that for me is the base class choice, you know, and not getting as hung up on the names. Although I totally get it, because like if I'm going to play a paladin, and Austin, that paladin is very near and dear to my heart as well. You know, like I want to make sure the augment system and everything is good with it, so that it is actually a paladin and not just in my head, you know, when it's actually labeled something else in the game, you know, like Templar or something else. So yeah, I could see people having an issue with it, but I think it comes back to, for me, the base class and making sure that's right for me, like from a gameplay standpoint. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You know, when you say that, I do agree that there are certain names that you have to be careful with, right?
Yeah.
Paladin is one of those.
Yeah.
If Paladin's not going to be one of your main base classes, which it's not, you got to be careful about what you call a Paladin.
Yeah.
Right? Because people will find Paladin and they will be like, I play a Paladin. That's what I play. That's what I've played for 20 freaking years. Right. I'm a Paladin. Right. I got my Paladin tattoo. I named my dog Paladin. Like I play a Paladin. And then you're like, well, the Paladin is a rogue mage. You're like, excuse me now.
Come again?
Yeah. That's not gonna fly, right? No. So like there are certain names that you do have to be a little bit careful with, and Paladin is probably one of them, right? And I'm fine with that. And if we need to move the names around to make Paladin be a little bit more Paladin-y, then that would make sense.
Right.
People are gonna treat that like very seriously. That's gonna be a tough one.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And so this going, by the way, thank you, Austin, for that. Appreciate you. And as always, folks, you can always comment on our Spotify questions, and we may just rope them right in the show like we did here. This one comes from Alyssa. This is an email. She says, hey, guys, what do you think of the systems so far in A2? As someone who couldn't purchase a key, I live vicariously through content creators. What are your thoughts on A2 systems overall?
Where do you even start, right? Like,
I know it's a loaded
systems,
gun. Yeah.
Right. Oh boy. So let's start with some of the systems that are a big part of A2, and that would be the artisan system. Mm-hmm. The artisan system is all things that most people would know of as crafting. Mm-hmm. It's crafting, gathering, processing, and all that other stuff. And I think that the big addition was animal husbandry. Animal husbandry has been very interesting. We've had a few people in the guild that have made a boatload of money off animal husbandry through just tireless grinding. They have gone out and they have just hunted and immediately turned those animals into either beasts of burden or mounts over and over and over and over. And they got to the point where as soon as that apprentice station for animal husbandry went up, they were right in it and they were churning out awesome mounts. And now the mounts are amazing. it is an enormous gold sink. Enormous gold sink for this one. But if you were one of the people like Crisco, who was an early adopter to this and was first to do some of this stuff, you just made unbelievable amounts of money, which is common in MMOs, right, JB? Like if you're the first to do stuff,
yep.
If you're the one guy that has that pattern that all the tailors want, then like you're gonna make a lot of money.
Right.
That's been interesting. Questing is just kind of like, I just don't have a lot of experience with that. It doesn't seem to be a big part of my game right now.
Yeah.
Like it seems like at least half of them are bugged for me. That's very annoying. And so I just don't really do it. I mean, I pick up the commission stuff, but it doesn't really feel like quests. You know, it feels like go over here and kill a bunch of these things, or go over here and find this area.
Sure.
So that's kind of okay. God, what was the other thing? You say something, because I got one more that was like a big system.
Yeah, go ahead while you're thinking on that. So for me, the questing system is the story is, there's a lot of great story, little tidbits, and right, since it's an alpha 2, like you're not really seeing these things fleshed out. However, the tidbits that you are seeing of the story, it's just like, oh, okay, I like that. I want to see where it's going. Aside from that, truthfully, the questing is not really worth it right now, just because of the, like, you can go kill one mob and get the amount of XP that you would get from a whole entire quest or chain. And that's with you in a group with all of your friends just hanging out and grinding, you know, mindlessly just killing mobs. So questing right now doesn't feel worth it from an experience standpoint. However, from a story standpoint, from what's available, I would say it does feel worth it. But I think a lot of the systems in the game right now are very foundational. I mean, you could argue they're trying something that I don't think worked. I don't think you think it worked either. The current player stall system, where you search by the item, like by descriptive words. It seems backwards. So I think Steven did say that there was going to be like a update to that soon. So
yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Finish your thought.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so that was definitely one of the systems I was going to address. Yeah, the questing experience thing is a tough one, and Pockets in the chat, you know, brings up a good point. And he's like, I don't think that they're trying to do that right now, and that is fair. I agree. I don't think they're trying to do that right now. That could be a late game ad, you know, prior to launch, which would make a lot of sense. So the point is that it's really not worth doing whatever like little questing things they have in here, which unfortunately means that most people just grind mobs over and over and over and over and over, which to me is just like, I'd rather do a lot of things that I can't say on this podcast, and we'll make it simple and say that I'd rather hurl myself out this closed window onto my frozen driveway than kill mobs over and over. But you know what,
though, Sunny, like, and I totally get it. But I will say this though, like on an evening when you can just, and look, we have the same board, turn the volume on the game down, pull it down, have a beer, whiskey, whatever, and just sit and shoot the crap with your friends and mindlessly kill things and get better XP. That to me is when it's really fun.
That is nice.
Because right? I don't have the fader all the way up. I have that thing raked all the way down almost, and just chill and talk. But
yes, and that does make it fun. And that is enjoyable.
Makes it more palatable.
It does, on like a not constant basis, right?
Yeah.
Like when you have to start do this 6 hours a day, it is just no, thank you. The market stall thing has been, I don't know how I can put a positive spin on this thing. It is that system in its entirety, I hope to God, is like the most placeholder of placeholders, because it makes no sense. And I've talked about it before, so I'm not going to dwell on it, but like that needs a fix like yesterday.
Why don't you state what it is and then what you want it to be? The system exists
like this. You go to town, you have a guy and like a bunch of like boxes behind him, And you talk to this guy and he's like, hey, do you want to sell stuff? And you're like, yes, I do want to sell stuff. He's like, great. You can sell 20 things or 20 stacks of things. You're like, great. I want to sell these 20 stacks of different things. It's like, great. So you put it up for sale, and then it says Sunny Ravencourt's stall. And there's a little pen below it where you can write stuff in there. And so you write like, welcome to Sunny's stall of awesome goods. And then you go to buy something from somebody else, and it's got a list of all the different JB stall and Kash's stall and Katie's stall and stuff like that. And you click on their stalls and you see what they've got. And you're like, okay, well, there's an awful lot of stalls. There's like 80 pages of stalls. So I'm like, okay, I just want to search for copper. So you click the search for copper. And instead of you searching for copper, you search for that little line of text where I wrote Sunny's stall of goodness and things. And it doesn't say anything about copper. So now you're just searching that. And so you go to like somebody's stall where they're just saying like, I have copper in their little thing. And you click on it and you realize they don't have copper because it doesn't matter. All that matters is that little line. I know that this is a visual gag that what I'm doing is I'm just looking into the camera like Justin Timberlake in that suit shop where he's just shaking his head. No. So this has got to be a placeholder, right? Like they've got to fix that. They got to make you be able to search for the things you're actually looking for. So that system, forget it. Like I know that you can find deals if you are one of those people that just go page by page by page. But like you've played Warcraft, you could go page by page in Warcraft without any of the things on the side that narrow it down. You could do this.
Yep.
No sane human being would do this.
Nope.
There's a reason why, right?
Nope.
So that's out. Treasure maps is another system. And unfortunately, like I feel like this is like a greatest hits list of things that aren't working right. But treasure maps was a big ad for Alpha 2, and they are about to get a fix as well. They are actively working on that one because they really did sell treasure maps as like a launch thing for phase 2, and I can't use any of them. There was a thing where apparently while you were doing the treasure map, after you finished the treasure map, you had to discard the quest. You had to like abandon the quest, and only then would you be able to do another treasure map. If you tried to do another treasure map, it basically locked you out of treasure maps forever, which is what most people ended up doing. And so now nobody can do treasure maps. So it's still a thing. It's unfortunate. Everyone's hoarding treasure maps. It's not great. So that's kind of a bummer too. Yeah, there's just not a lot of systems that are working great right now. But you know, the caravans are still the same. They've made some adjustments to that, but the caravans actually function pretty well, like ultimately. I do wish that they would put in some reward for people defending a caravan. Still no incentive to defend a caravan. All the incentive in the world to attack them. No incentive to defend a caravan. That is not going to yield a lot of happy caravan drivers.
No. And I thought of that yesterday, or what was it, 2 days ago? I was logged in and I was running around and it gave me the option to defend something, and I thought from some random person, and I just thought to myself, no.
Yeah,
I get nothing out of that. I don't feel like being kind right now, like overly kind and outwardly outgoing. Just no, I'm good.
There's 20 people across that hill that are about to kill you.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And you're like one dude.
Dude, this is Vira. Like, you get stabbed or shaking someone's hand where we're at right now. Like, it's terrible. So no, I'm not going to help. No. Let me just put myself up on a platter there.
Okay. Now, here's the last thing that I'm going to talk about with the systems here. And and we can kind of wrap this thing, because this is a really interesting thing that I do not believe was advertised as what was going to happen, but I strongly believe that this is what is happening right now. And I'm going to use the word node, and I don't mean node as in like a city node. I'm talking about the individual nodes of gatherable materials. So like a copper node, okay? We've used nodes to describe individual gatherable things forever. Like this game also uses nodes for cities, but I'm talking about the gatherable things. So it was my understanding from a variety of different sources and people and podcasts and all that other stuff that when you gather certain items that are like tier 1, it has the propensity then to generate tier 2 things, and tier 2s would then generate tier 3 things and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer believe that this is actually happening. And there are a couple videos that are out there that are really debunking this. There is a person, and he's in like pirates. He's in one of many, many, many pirate softwares guilds. And he goes, look, this is what I do. This is how it works. I go here, and as soon as I know that this copper node will spawn, I start my circuit. And I have exactly the timing to go node to node to node to node to node to node to node and come back. And they spawn at exactly the same time on a timer in the exact same place every single time. And he shows it in high speed and he does it. And I would be like, oh, that's interesting, except for the fact that I've seen it. I have spent an awful lot of time south of New Ayla in the mountains. I know exactly where that copper is going to spawn. And I know that when I log in a new server restart or something like that, after a period of time, there's going to be a copper exactly right there every time. And now people are waiting in the various places. And so they are timing it out. They set their clock. They know exactly what's going on, and it will pop up to the second in that thing. So that is not a dynamic node spawning system.
That's a problem.
It is a problem.
Yeah.
And some people don't believe that it's true. Even now, there will be people that will be in this chat and they're like, no, it doesn't work like that. I'm like, I'm telling you, dude, it is. It's working like that. And that's why, that's one of the reasons why copper and other materials are so hard to find, is because people are camping them at the exact right time that they spawn. And if you're doing that, you have 100% chance of getting that, and everyone else has a 0% chance of getting it.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So I guess the point, JB, that I wanted to make on this thing is that you talk about things that you could fix that would improve the overall gameplay life, right? That improve the testing experience and everything like that. One of those things is training mobs. We said, like, okay, you got to fix that. You got to just change the mechanics on whatever you got to do on the inside end of this thing. Change that mechanics so that training mobs is not going to work the same way that it is now. This is another one that I think that this is worth stopping, looking at, fixing that thing now, because I think that has an enormous impact on gameplay and the style of gameplay and the resource disparity for people, guilds, the kind of people that are doing this kind of behavior. You want this to be a more dynamic world where you don't have people running circuits, stealing all that, not stealing, but gathering all the resources and them getting everything. It is not a good thing. This one is worth pushing pause on other things and changing this right now.
Yeah, because I think it has a trickle down effect. I get just that alone. So you talk about, like disparity between like resources in other areas. You talk about from an economic standpoint, like that's going to affect people's coin purses. It's going to affect crafters in a big way, which ultimately means it'll affect end game right now in a quote unquote end game, in a big way. Like it's a trickle down effect for something as simple. And I don't mean like that it's easy to fix, but like something as simple as that. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, that definitely needs changed.
Let me draw this out for you.
Mm-hmm.
You are running a guild of not hardcore people, okay?
Yep.
Not the hardest of the hardcore people, but they want to test this game. And they're crafters.
Yep.
The problem is because they're not hardcore, that they're like working adults who are inherently, dependent on a job, that they can't do this all day long. They can't find any copper. They can't find any willow. They can't find the things that are required for them to test the game in crafting. They now are in a spot where they don't want to play this game anymore because they can't get any of the stuff. The developers say, like, And here's the thing that came right out of Steven's mouth. Well, the data shows that there is a lot of copper and it's being harvested. Like, okay, by who? Right? Because I don't know anyone. It's a small percent of people that are finding these things that are like dedicated to only doing that. Maybe for their guild, you know, maybe they just are the one guy that gets all the stuff. And so your guild never sees any of it, never sees the willow, never sees the copper, never sees the zinc or tin or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you just will not continue to do that. The world becomes a very unfun place when you have systems that you don't have access to that other people have access to.
Right.
And that is a problem. That's a big problem.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting to see what comes of that. And I imagine they would fix that, right? Like, there's no way that stays that way.
I'm surprised that it existed in the first place, honestly, because it seems like something that, like, on a base level, I know that people, so I brought this up in the stream earlier today, and people are like, well, it's a placeholder. I'm like, okay. But that one seems like you should have designed it, like, at the beginning, right? Like, that is basic world building to me, that I would have built that system from start and not put a placeholder in. But at the same time, I would have done something different with the market stalls too. So I don't know. Maybe it is a placeholder. You know, maybe it is something where they're just going to, you know, flip a switch and all of a sudden all the nodes become dynamic one day. And you're like, oh, well, there wasn't copper over here, but now there's copper in like 3 willow trees.
Right.
Like, sweet.
Right.
And there you go. So no, like Grace Bell in the chat says, well, what do you want? Increased randomness on respawn times? No, I want nodes that are random. I want dynamic nodes. I want nodes that change tiers based on harvested. I want spawns that happen not in the same place. I don't want random timers. I want a dynamic node gathering system. That's what I want. And I believe, I don't think I'm crazy on this, but I believe that's what was described as what would happen. When you gather certain nodes, it will spawn different tiered nodes.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's
on that.
what I want.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. This was episode 1. Wow. We're going
First show ever.
First one.
We think we're going to hire another guy to come in next time.
Yeah.
We got our eye on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's bald and has a mean Wyatt Earp mustache. So, you know, he's ahead of the pack.
Getting bigger too.
It's gotten, yeah, you know, so. Anyway, you can always email us, loreforgedhq@gmail.com. And if you enjoyed this show, if you would, please, it helps us greatly here at the show with the algorithm gods and all that fun stuff. Let us know how we're doing. Well, leave us a review on a podcast app of choice, or comment and like if you're watching on YouTube. It just helps us. And honestly, it helps other gamers decide if this is the kind of show for them. So if you could, please just take a moment and let us know how we're doing. Sunny?
Yeah, I just want to start by again wishing all the public service people in California like the best of luck and Godspeed to them. Safe travels, adventurers, as our good friend Kash would say. We're thinking of you guys, and we want you to be as safe as you humanly can while you're, you know, doing everything that you're trying to do to protect your state and the citizens inside of it. It's rough, and we're thinking of you. So. I know JB agrees with that sentiment as well.
Yes.
You can go to our website at loreforged.com and find the links to all of our stuff, including YouTube. We got some super fun stuff on YouTube. We are on Twitch. We're on Twitch right now. We're broadcasting the show live on Twitch, and I do a lot of Twitch stuff during the day. We just generally have a good time on Twitch talking about Ashes of Creation. So stop by and throw us a follow so that you know when we're on, which is quite a bit. And then finally, Patreon. Patreon is where we have all sorts of good stuff. I've written a couple articles. JB's written a couple articles on the free side of Patreon lately. But we, of course, have our couple tiers. We have 2 different tiers. Oh, look at that. We just had a whole bunch of subscribers here from an anonymous gifter. And this is the kind of thing that we love, you know, so very, very much is our community. And so thank you to all of the people that have joined our community.
Thank you.
Whether you're supporting on Patreon or just watching us for free on Twitch. We love you all the same, and we're very happy about that. I will go ahead and just go right into Kash's stuff here.
Yep.
We have my son got home and forgot that I was podcasting. He was like, hello. You can follow us on X, and that is at LoreForged HQ. You can also find us on our Instagram page, which is at LoreForged HQ. I need to put some more stuff on there. And then you can, we have some new Discord community members, but our Discord has actually changed quite a bit.
Yeah, I think those are old members. That's on that list.
Yeah, those are old members. Yeah. So our Discord is now pretty much exclusively for the guild. So we're probably going to have to change the show notes on that thing, but we've made some changes. We're just trying to survive, man. Like it is. When you're running a guild and doing a show and everything like this, we're making it up as we go along, and so we're trying to give the community and the listeners as positive experiences as humanly possible. So if you'd like to interact with us, the answer is really Twitch and Patreon, and then other social media stuff. So we certainly want to be able to communicate with you guys and have a good time, because we very much enjoy shows like this where people have responded to the Spotify and asked us questions when we put it right into a show. We do a similar sort of thing with Live from Happy Hour.
Oh, yeah.
And they are always my favorite shows.
Heck yeah. Absolutely. Well, friends, thank you so much. Have a great week. We love you, and we'll see you right here next week on LoreForged. Take care, everybody.
This is our first podcast.
Woo! Let's do 70 more.
We did it. Safe travels, adventurers. Yeah!
Oh, my gosh.